G'day legends. This video is a free module from the Spinlight Studio metal mixing course, and in this module we cover mixing a heavy bass tone and getting it sitting in the mix just right. In the full course we do cover setting up the tones for the bass, setting up the tones for all the guitars, layering in drum samples, everything that you need to do at a foundational level to achieve a great metal mix. All of that is covered in this course. There's over 7 hours of content, 14 modules, covering everything from session prep, setting up good tones, talking about the importance of editing, of course, mixing the track, as well as mastering the track. Everything you need to know to get a great sounding metal mix is in this course. So if you're interested in learning how to take a mix from this to this, then make sure you check out the Spinlight Studio Metal Mix course. There's a link in the description below, and there's 25% off the course until the end of March. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this module from the Spinlight Studio Metal Mix course, where we're going to cover mixing a heavy bass tone. And before we dive into this, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Okay, so let's have a look at mixing this bass sound. And I honestly don't think we're going to have to do a lot with it because we already pulled a pretty good bass tone. And as I said before, the bulk of the work should be done in getting a good tone. So using parallax worked really well to get that split kind of signal with the clean low end and the gritty highs and just sort of taming the mids. It's a great plugin for just that kind of multi-band processing to deal with that stuff. There are other ways that you can process your bass. If you just have a DI that you're working with, you can split it into 2 channels, like duplicate it, and then process the lows and process the highs independently by using a high pass filter to clean out all the highs and keep all the lows on one channel, and then use a low pass filter to take out all the lows so that you can just process the highs on the other channel, blend it together. That is a really cool technique. And that's essentially what parallax does, and you just get a great tone immediately on one channel. So again, let's review these tones. So that's that auto audio tone. It's a bit of a cleaner, clankier sound. That's the clean DI through parallax. That was our gritty bass preamp through parallax. And so I do like the second option the most. With a bit of a blend of each of these. Now we can zoom in and check the phase of all of these and just make sure everything's lining up. We can see that for the most part, this does look pretty in phase, but the bass preamp looks a little different. We look right there, that looks pretty good. But then as it goes on, there's some differences. We can see that this one is still kind of in phase, like the wave files are going up and down together, but the preamp one is slightly different. Goes a bit out of phase here. So blending that one in may not be a great idea. So if we take that one out, let's have a listen to what we got. Because these top 2 seem like they're pretty well in phase together. So I don't think that's adding enough to care about having that in there. So we're just going to mute that one as a preference. I'm going to run with these 2 channels blended together. Now I'm just going to boost this up a little bit and get a little bit more volume on our bus channel here. And bring that back down a little bit. Now we're going to apply some processing to this as a whole on this bus. So on our bass group, this is where we're going to do the bulk of our processing, and these channels here are just kind of blending the tones together. I like this blend that we've got right now. Let's have a listen to that in the context of everything. Cool. Now what I want to do is compress this a little bit. So I'm going to go with the 1176. I always love a bit of 1176 on bass. I want to see what this sounds like, and it's a good aggressive style compressor. So let's grab the Rev E again. Fast release, kind of like a fast medium attack, and let's see what this does. So it's pinning that bass in place. It sounds really nice. Okay, I'm going to grab FabFilter Pro Q3 now. Do a little bit of EQ carving after this compressor. So around 250 Hertz, just a little bit of muddiness here that I just want to carve out of the bass. And just a little bit of cut around 2K. Might do a high pass filter up to around 25 Hertz. Low pass filter, maybe up to around 10K. There's not really anything going on up there that's important. I think that sounds pretty nice. Now, the next thing I like to do on bass is add a limiter. So any limiter should do the job. I always just reach for the Waves L2. And because we're on a stereo bus, I'm just using the stereo version, but could turn this into a mono bus, but it doesn't really matter. So let's bring the threshold and the ceiling down together by clicking in the middle here and dragging down. We won't get any added loudness, but we'll just achieve some limiting to the sound. Once I see that tickling it, I stop. That's kind of it. So it's really consistent now, which is what we want from the bass, just to be like a very solid, consistent sound in the mix. I'm digging that. I honestly think most of the work was done in that bass tone. Just getting a good tone has definitely made this a lot easier to get a nice sounding bass track. I almost feel like we could add a little bit more top end to this. So I'm going to use VMR, grab the FGS, which is basically just SSL style EQ. See if we can just add a little bit of scratchiness back to this. I think that's going to be cool. I like hearing that little bam, bam, poking through the mix. It's fun. So that's post limiter. So a little bit of EQ past the limiter. It's just helping bring back a little bit of that brightness that we might have lost along the way with some of the compression and limiting, but it's definitely giving it some extra tone now, which is cool. Just giving it some more cut in the mix. And you can see the signal is really pinned in place, which again is important to getting a loud mix. And this genre has to be loud. Okay, and something else that I like to do on the bass, a very common trick, is sidechain it to the kick. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do this, a couple of plugins you can use. Some people like to use Track Spacer. I don't have that plugin, but I've heard really great things about it. So if you have that, maybe using that for this trick could be great, or else you can just use a standard compressor, or you can use a multi-band compressor. So I'm going to try it with a multi-band compressor, and I'm going to go with FabFilter's Pro MB. Put this at the end of our chain. I'm going to create a single band down here for the low end. So kind of from 130 Hertz downwards. And then I'm going to click on Expert and go to External for our sidechain section. Now up here on sidechain, I'm going to choose Kick Trigger 1, just because it's really consistent. And we're going to put the attack to fast and the release to fast. And then we're just going to play the track and see what happens as the kick plays. So essentially what's happening right now is every time the kick hits, the low end is being ducked. So we're still getting all of the top end of the bass and all of the mid range, but all that's happening is the frequencies that would normally mask the kick, where they're kind of living together down here, are being pushed away while the kick's hitting. So it's not as drastic as just chucking a compressor and sidechaining it and compressing the whole bass frequency range. This is only affecting the low end, which is really cool. So cool little trick here with Pro MB and using the sidechain in external mode. I think it's sounding pretty cool. I want to try adding a little bit of saturation in here. Now I'm going to chuck this before our limiter. I'm just going to try it in here, and I'm going to use Plugin Alliance's Black Box. Okay, now what I'm going to do is grab a preset to start with and see how this sounds. I'm going to go with one of these 808. So let's try the 808 distortion. That's pretty cool blended in at like 13%. It's obviously way over the top, but that's pretty cool. What about 808p distortion? I think the second option is pretty good. Just helps the notes to stand out and come through the mix a little bit better, I think. Without that saturation, it's just a little hollow sounding. So I like that harmonic distortion it's adding across it, but we might pull this back to like 10%. All right, we are sounding pretty cool at the moment. Drums, bass, and those effects are dialed in nicely. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to check out that link in the description below. Go check out the Spinlight Studio metal mixing course. There's also a bunch of drum sample packs and other mixing courses over on my website as well. So make sure you go and check them out and help support this channel. If you want to get a bit more of a feel for the Spinlight Studio metal mix course, then check out this next video coming up.